Hey y'all, it is the well-dressed woman, aka Portia, and I am back with some updates for you guys. Okay, we are updating, as you guys know, this dining room area, and it is taking the longest time, you guys. But you know what? I don't have a lot of time to, devote to doing it, so we just gonna do it piece by piece. Okay, so y'all just bear with me as I try to explain my process and what I'm going for in this dining room, etc. And if you are new here, welcome to the Well Dressed Woman channel, where our whole goal is to make sure that everything in our lives is dressed well. So we're dressing our bodies well, we're dressing our minds well, our spirits well, our health well, our environment and our homes well. We're covering everything. And so I hope you stay along for the ride. Don't forget to comment, subscribe, and hit that like bell if you see something that you are enjoying or if you learned something new here. If you have questions, I would love to hear back from you all about this process. So as you can see here, your girl was getting her carpentry on. Okay, so right here, I left this part in because I wanted you guys to see some of the things that went wrong in my process. So I did the responsible thing, you guys. I actually measured. I did measure, and I created like a template, like a standard. So I didn't have to measure each time. I had a piece of wood that I used to help me mark and cut the rest of the wood, so that I didn't have to, whip out the measuring tape each time that I was trying to cut a piece of wood. So what I did was I cut a whole bunch of pieces, at the same time. I cut up, I don't know how many pieces. It was quite a few. But what I noticed was that, it could have been my cuts. Maybe they were off just a little bit, but what I did was I took the same piece. It fit at the beginning of the wall, but then toward the middle of the wall, it did not fit. And this is the same exact piece, right? I was just trying to see if it was my cuts or if it was the wall. And so the wall was just a little off. And so what you guys saw me doing here was that piece of wood did not fit. I had already put glue on there, you guys, and I'm like, dang it, this does not fit. So I had to take it up, put it, in the miter saw, chop off a little bit of it at the top, and then reapply it. But I knew that going in that some of the pieces in the middle, it was going to be too long. So I should have actually, before I put the glue on, said, hey, does this fit? All right, so it looks like for every foot, did I write this down? Oh, I did. For every foot, I need about 8 pieces. This wall, I had trouble measuring the whole entire wall. Oh, shoot. You know what? I messed up, y'all. I measured that wall. So, as you can see, more problems. So, I measured the other wall, which is actually longer than this wall. And that's what I was gauging how many pieces I would need by. And so I went in, I remeasured, and I got my numbers correct. So yeah, I need 72. So I'm definitely gonna run out of wood, which is unfortunate. This is very, very unfortunate. But I'm just gonna keep cutting. Just keep on keeping on. And you know what I'm gonna do about dinner? I'm gonna go get a lasagna stouffer, one of them stoufers, and some garlic bread, and that's what we're gonna have tonight. Because I have a deadline. I told y'all about my deadline. I have a deadline. With this 3-day weekend, trying to make the most of it. So your girl had to put on some good music to kind of just power through this next part, because I decided that I was going to cut the rest of the wood that I had and, you know, just kind of finish as much as I could with this portion of the wall. Like I said in the video, I gave myself a deadline to finish this dining room by. So, you know, whatever the issue, you know, whatever happened or whatever was going to happen, I just needed to find a way to, you know, to push through. Like, one of the things that happened right here that was kind of off camera was that my the battery on my nail gun died. And when I ordered the nail gun, it did not come with a battery. So I had no way of charging the nail gun so that I could continue applying the slats to the wall. So I was just like, okay, you know what? I have to leave to go to Home Depot. I don't feel like leaving. I'm kind of on a roll right now. My coffee done kicked in, you know. I'm just gonna cut up the rest of the wood, and that's what I focused on. And I really powered through it. Like I said, I put on Frankie Beverly and Mays. That's my uncle. He can get me through anything. And so I just went on ahead and I buckled down. I cut the rest of the wood, and so after I cut the wood, I went on ahead and went to Home Depot and I got the battery charger. And so I went on ahead and, you know, and put the battery on the cradle so that I could charge, but I still wanted to continue, you know, moving along. And so that's why I decided I'm like, well, I might as well, you know, start staining the wood, right? So previously, when I was doing this, when I did the research and I looked at everybody's YouTube videos, they stained the wood prior to putting it on the wall. And I was just like, I don't understand why they did that, because most of the time when they're applying the slats to the wall, 9 times out of 10, the back color on the wall, or the color in the background, is black. So I didn't understand what the problem was. Like, why would you go through the trouble of staining all of the pieces, having to lay them out on the ground, you know, and really figure out a way to stain the pieces that way versus just staining them when they're on the wall? I didn't understand that. So I decided, I was like, well, maybe they know something that I don't know, right? So I was like, okay, well, the first 8 or 9, I stained the same way. I stained it on my table, and, you know, I played with the color and got it to what I wanted it to be. But you guys, that was so messy. It was so messy. I was like, I'm not doing the rest of them like this. I was like, I'm about to stain the rest of these on the wall. So that's why you saw me painting, you know, the slats on the wall. And that's how I am going to continue doing this. I didn't have a problem with it. It worked out for me. And so that's what I will continue to do. Right here, so this is me. I'm trying to apply the slats around this corner, right? And the space here technically didn't allow for the spacing that I was actually using on the other side. So I'm basically using a slat as the space between each piece of slat, if that makes sense. Like, they are all evenly spaced apart, the standard size of each slat. So it's like that space in the middle, another slat can perfectly fit in there. That is what I'm using as my spacer, the actual slat. On this corner, you know, it wouldn't allow for a whole slat, but I didn't feel like only one slat being there would work aesthetically. It just, you know, so I just eyeballed it. I said it just needs to be apart enough so that it looks like the others. But no one can really tell, like not with the naked eye. You can't tell that that the spacing between these two isn't the same as the others. So I didn't really worry about it too much. I just eyed it. Now this part was tricky for me. Number one, the outlet on the wall is actually crooked. So that was messing me up. Number two, I do not know how to do this around an outlet. Like literally I'm winging it, you guys. I'm just like, maybe this'll work. And I feel like what I came up with is not bad at all. Again, leading the slats leading up to, and you can probably tell a little bit right here if you pause it. The slats leading up to the outlet, I had to adjust just a little bit because where the slat would have landed if I kept evenly spacing them out the way that I had been, it just wouldn't have worked, the way that I wanted it to work out, building around this outlet. So I had to adjust it a little bit. But again, once these are stained and they're dark, you really, really will not be able to tell. And I'm totally fine with that. So also, as you can see here, one of the things I decided to do was use some of those scrap pieces to go around this outlet. I don't think anybody's really gonna be paying attention to this outlet. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. But I didn't want to, the wood was kind of expensive, and so I did not want to waste it. So as you can see, the slat was a little short because it was a scrap piece of wood. So now I'm just cutting out pieces to go, to fit right there. And yeah, y'all, I was being creative, and I'm like, all of the pieces where the wood connects, I'm just going to use wood putty to fill that in. I'm going to sand it down, and then I'm going to stain it. Yeah, but your girl had to be creative. So as you can see, I'm pasting it in now. And you guys, do you see that? Pause it if you can. When I applied the nail gun, the wood slat, maybe it was because there's too much pressure on that tiny piece of wood, it literally split in half, you guys. Another thing that went wrong, and something that I was not anticipating. So I applied the next one, and I was not going to put, I just used glue, and I wasn't going to use a nail, right? I was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna just leave it. But then eventually I did go back and use a nail because I just wanted to make sure that this was really secured. And when I did it, it did not split. So I don't know if that was just a fluke, or there probably is something to the fact that there was too much power for that little piece of wood. That's probably accurate. But when I did it on that second small piece, it didn't split. So now I'm going in and I'm cutting the bottom pieces for this area. Y'all, I was a cutting machine. I was a cutting fool that day. Next time, I'm definitely having Home Depot do these cuts. Apparently, you can pay for it. That's what I'm gonna do. And if I need to make any adjustments, I'll use my miter saw. But if I can, I'm definitely gonna have them do the majority of the cuts. Yeah, so those little scrap pieces came in handy. I'm glad I kept them around. Yep, and that's another thing. As you can see on that last piece that I put on, sometimes the glue would flow, from the back of the slat, and it would just kind of squeeze out onto the paint. And so I just had a little towel there, and I would just, wipe it up as I went. I tried not to apply so much glue, but still, it just always seemed to just kind of squeeze out. So as you can see, I'm applying my standard to help measure between each slat, and then I'm removing it, and that's how I'm doing my spacing. I'm just literally using one of the other slats to keep my spacing even. So I'm just tidying this up. And I am calling it a day, you guys. As you can see, the workstation is a mess. Do not judge me. I cleaned it up a bit here, but not too much because I'm just gonna go right back to it. But this is what the wall is looking like so far. I definitely ran out of wood. I have to go and get more wood. I just haven't made my way back to Home Depot. But you know, I'm really digging it. I'm proud that I took this project on. You know, me and measuring aren't exactly the best of friends, but you know, you guys, if I can do this, you can do this. And I mean that. And you know, I really hope you believe me, you guys, because I haven't taken any classes. I just honestly believe that if I see somebody do something, like if I actually see them do it, I can figure it out. And even if I don't see them do it, like I just really believe in my capability. Like I believe that I can figure things out. So if you're hesitant, you know, I totally understand. Yeah, so if you are hesitant, I totally understand. But like I said, you guys, me and measuring, you know, they say, what do they say? Measure twice, cut once. I measured like 90 times and I still was off, you know? So it's like, you know, you learn along the way. But if this is something that you're interested in doing, you know, I would challenge you to try to do it. Like really, really try to do it. Like I said, do I have it? This is the standard, and I made sure that I wrote on it so that I wouldn't see, it says new standard. And these are just some notes to myself, but I made sure I wrote on it. And I literally, every time I cut a piece of wood, I used this. I put it on the new piece of wood and I just marked it. And then I would, you know, that's how I would make my cuts. You know, so if you want to do something, you will find a way to get it done. And so that's what I did, because you guys, on the other side of here, I'm applying a whole different kind of molding. It's picture molding, and it is a little difficult, and it is definitely challenging. And so that's kind of, I had to slow down on that side and just kind of really, really take my time with those cuts, because in addition to the measuring and the cutting, having to be a little more precise, what I was doing with the molding, like I'm using the same molding in two different types of ways, so I'm flipping it around, and there's a lot more going on, but I'm determined to figure it out, and I believe that I can. Like I really believe that I can figure it out. And so yeah, I just want to encourage you guys to just love on your home. And you know, at the end of the day, you know, you have to pay for materials. You know, wood is not necessarily cheap right now. And so there is a cost that's associated with it. But had I hired somebody to come and do this would have been just way more expensive. And so, you know, however which way you can get it done, get it done. If you can't do this, well then, you know, I'm not saying if you can't do this in your ability. If this is not in your budget, then don't do this. But, you know, calculate the cost. You know, all I had to do was pay for the materials, because the labor is coming from me and my belief that I can do this. And so I just really want to encourage you guys, like, don't be afraid to try something. You know, I literally started out with one piece of wood. I got my miter saw, I cut it, and then I went like this. I said, I think I could do this. I just gotta cut a whole bunch of these and glue it and then nail it. you know? So just, I'm encouraging you guys, you know, turn your house, turn your home into everything that you dreamed that it could be. So that's what I want to leave you guys with. You know, we bought this condo in August of last year, and I fell in love with like the architecture. I love older places. They just have so much more character. But this was the first time that it was living in a place that I actually own. Like I've owned property before, but you know, I didn't live in it. This is the first time that I'm living in something that I own. And so I have the opportunity to really pour into it, you know what I mean? And to make these kinds of permanent changes, right? And so that's what I'm doing. You know, home is one of my favorite places. You know, I grew up in such a wonderful home. I loved it gave me the foundation for you know what I have today, which is, you know, just this deep-seated love for the home and for, you know, beautifying it and making this space come to life and speak to everybody that steps foot in my home. And so I don't think I talked to you guys about what I plan to do in this dining area. I'm going to, in this video here, because it's starting to get kind of long, but there's going to be several parts to this video. So in part 2, I'll give you guys a glimpse of the actual design and what I'm going for in this area. But yeah, thank y'all for hanging out with your girl. And as always, you guys, try to find something today, do something today that is going to bring you joy, okay? With that, I hope you guys have a blessed and wonderful rest of your week.